So welcome, Irene. Thanks for joining us today. Let's start off with who is Irene and tell us about you.
I would, this is probably harder for most people to do, right? But it's better than someone else trying to identify you. So I appreciate one being here. Thank you for having me and thank you for the question. So what I would express first is that family is important. So first of all, my role as mother, daughter, aunt, godmother, really elevates to the top of who I am. But I actually am very proud of raising three young adults and being second generation born in this country to immigrant grandparents whose shoulders really that I stand upon. My roots are actually on the Missouri side, but my heart now really is on the Kansas side. I was actually born in Kansas, raised on the Missouri side, uh, graduating the Kansas City, Missouri public school system, an undergrad from the University of Missouri, Columbia, and a graduate degree from UMKC. I am proud of actually having about 30 years of nonprofit experience, mainly in Wyandotte and Johnson counties on the Kansas side, with some great organizations: Kansas City, Missouri Health Department, Youth Opportunities Unlimited, Catholic Charities in Northeast Kansas, Swope Health Services. And I'm sitting here today as president and CEO of El Centro, where I actually started my career after graduate school. So I'm back where I think I belong. I was raised by parents who gave me the values of family, uh, education, and most important, I think, of giving back. So I value the role that I play as a servant leader and also being on a number of boards in our community and wanting to make sure that I leave things really better for my kids and the generations to come. That's who I am. That's
That's
how I
aw-
would describe Irene.
well, I'm a lifelong Kansas Cityan as well, and my I don't know if my heart. I was raised on the Missouri side, but then my wife uh, coerced me into the Kansas side. So I straddle the state line as well. So tell us a little bit about El Centro. What does El Centro do, and what do you enjoy most about being the president and CEO of El Centro?
Sure. So El Centro is a 45-year-old for-purpose organization that really values its founding fathers in a purpose of making sure that we are serving the Spanish-speaking Latino immigrant population in navigating systems. Uh, our mission is basically to strengthen community and improve the lives of Latinos and others through economic, social, and educational opportunities. And we do that through a variety of programs: dual language preschool, health education, health navigation. We have economic empowerment, as well as a whole lot of advocacy. And what's important about our programs is that it's really some threads around information, education, and integration. But the way El Centro defines integration, it really is about embracing a language and culture to help move our community forward. And what I would say I love the most are the people that I work with and those that we serve. Um, it is really valuable for our community to feel like they belong. And for a long time, we have dealt with identities or assumptions or stereotypes. And every day I get to see people who love to come into work, who value the work that we do, but also we can't do it without listening to a population that is really so we're with community as opposed to for community, right? And what I love the most is the value they give us as trusted people in the community, or trusted voices, and then valuing every day the resilience, the pride, and the identity and belonging that they show me every day of why it's important for us to do what we do.
That's great. I love your passion for that. That's really important, and it shows how committed you are to that project. So I know we helped you with some real estate just recently out in Olathe. So tell us about your new project in Olathe.
Oh, so part of El Centro's growth in the early days, we actually grew out of the Catholic Church from a priest who really saw the influx of Spanish language need and services. And so we kind of humbly come from the Argentine community on the Kansas City, Kansas side, and have grown in the 45 years to also work in Johnson County, where the growing population seems to be. So one of the things we wanted to commit to, we've been in Johnson County since the early 2000s, but we've been in a small 600 square foot place. Many of our programs coming out of other buildings, like, support from Catholic Charities or the library or Center of Grace. And one of the things we have been talking about in our business planning for the past couple of years is we need to make two things happen. One, a footprint that says we are committed to Johnson County, even though we do great work and we're doing great work, but we want to be identified, with supports and with facilities like we have in Kansas City, Kansas. And so one of the key pieces was looking at property that we could do everything we do out of our building that says El Centro, that becomes committed to the community, not just those that we serve, but also our partners and governmental agencies that also rely on us to support. And you helped us successfully obtain a building. We haven't made a formal announcement yet, but we do have it. We have signed all the paperwork thanks to your support. But we will be making a formal announcement and doing some construction work to get us up to speed to be able to just call to have everyone see Johnson County as also our home. So we're proud and ready, and we appreciate your support.
Well, great, and growing. That's always
growing in the era of COVID. That was one thing that I will tell you that the board did not want us to stop, was to stop the thought of something we knew we needed to see happen. It became, interesting visiting sites in the midst of COVID, but it also became an opportunity to finance at incredible rates during COVID. So it worked out for us to be able to move in a direction that I appreciate the board support, as well as everyone that has really helped us to get to this point.
And the Latino community continues to grow, so that it is very important that you continue to grow as well. So back to Kansas City. So your heritage is your grandparents lived in Argentine district. You grew up on the Missouri side. Why is Kansas City so special to you?
Family, community, schools that actually molded this young person into who I am today. As I said, living on both sides of the state line, of course, I was able to see diversity. I love our barbecue. There's no doubt these barbecue wars. I will have to say I was raised on Gates, so there is a little bit of bias, but I enjoy the opportunity to taste them all, right? Our sports teams, I love college sports, I love professional sports, and we have them here in our backyard. But more important, I think the people make Kansas City a great place to live and a great place for me to call home. And those that are, of course, part of my family, but also, friends and acquaintances that make Kansas City home.
Right. So do you own your own home now?
I do. We have, so back in 1999, my husband and I began to start talking about raising a family. And but I would tell you, about 2 years prior to that, thinking about a family also was about a home, because we were renters. So we had been renters before. Um, there was an agency back then on the Missouri side called the Neighborhood Alliance, that offered first-time home buyers education. So that was the first time we actually, even, in being married, sat down and began to talk about credit scores, began to talk about down payment, began to even think about, it wasn't just looking for a home, right? So that was a valuable experience for us, because we, again, as renters, you don't think about anything like that. And I think the value of that education, the value of taking the time, the value of knowing how much we, needed to be prepared for. Then came the time to have fun and look at homes.
So,
That
so think back to that time when you purchased your first home and you and your husband walked across that threshold. What's that feeling like?
it it's an incredible feel. I always see those pictures where they put the keys in your hand. Um, so interesting enough, mine was, wow. I mean, just the incredible opportunity to have space and then to grow our family, because, now we have three. At the time, we were barely thinking about the one. And so what I can say is, walking in and really different than my husband was, thinking about the growth of Pitter Patter Feet and that opportunity. Well, he immediately went to, okay, I'm going to take this down. I'm going to move this. I want to get this. So he actually saw something completely different. So I think both of us valued that it was our first and our own, because neither one of us, of course, had been in a home, except for, of course, our parents' home. But I think it's exciting. It's dream, it's a dreamlike state. Whether his dream was different than my dream, but it was still ours, and the opportunity to see what we can do and what we can be in that home. And we're still in the same home, actually. We bought
Great.
that in '99, and we still, it's because we knew we were going to grow in it. It was a 4-bedroom, and it was like, 2.5 bath. We were like, this is too big for us. But at the same time, I knew what my vision was. He had a different vision, but
Right. Well, and that goes into my next, thoughts are, our vision is to help everybody enjoy that experience. And I think you hit upon it, that a lot of people in the Latino community don't realize what it takes, or they think it's too hard. And back to your initial comments, which El Centro is based upon, we as ReeceNichols really need to try to increase our education to the Latino community, that everyone should have the chance to own a home and feel what you felt as you walked across that threshold. And it makes a difference for their family. It makes a difference for their long-term economic health and their wealth. So that's what we're committed to. And I know you and I have talked in the past about doing some things together to help with those education opportunities. And we will continue to forge ahead. It's a slow process, but we've got to teach people about credit and about
right.
mortgage, and about, it's not as scary as you think, and we can hold your hand and walk you through that, and really change your life and your family's life by helping you with the power of home ownership.
Yeah, wealth gap between, the white community and the legacy that is there about, not just that they understand, but it has been, kind of, uh, from the past, the legacies and all of those things. I think for us, um, a lot of our community still deals cash, based. So it's still like a cash-based system. Um, they, many of them might have an issue with status. And then when you talk about down payments, or when you talk about credit, and I'll take that as an example. I think one of the things that's often a barrier, is one, the sense that we can't own homes because of a status issue. The sense that credit, doesn't come with the fact that we're paying cash. So somehow we need to look at, um, not just as renters, but, is there opportunity to really look at credit worthiness in a different way, and then support, some programs for, down payments, and support more of I-10, mortgages. And for those that are not aware, the individual tax identification number was really a number created by the IRS for guests in the country to pay taxes. What it has done is really open the door for banks to be able to open bank accounts, offer savings. And then there are a few banks that we work with in our community that offer mortgages. And the default rate is low, because one of the things we know about our community is when they're able to buy a home, or I should say, when we are able to buy a home, it's home. We've made it a point to make, uh, the community, ours, the home ours, and value that in a lot of ways, aesthetically, as well as just putting some roots down. And I think so. I think some of those barriers and some of those thoughts about the future, you hit it on the head. When we think about why Johnson County also became important, was Johnson County is one of the fastest growing Latino populations, right? But a lot of renters. There's a lot of renters in some of the apartment complexes. But the value that we can bring and we can share in information and education also stems from the fact of how important, uh, we are to the economy, we are to the workforce, we are to the future, because it's a young, growing population. So the more that we can get businesses and others to understand, the impact that we have on all of that, putting into a system that builds roads and builds community, and actually in some cases saves the social security system. I always say this, if we decide to pull all of that out, then we will destroy some things. But I think for our community to understand their belonging and their ability to be able to impact those systems also creates, why they love Kansas City and why we call this home, right?
So
For generations and for generations to come.
that's right. Okay, you've been in your home since 1999. So if you could remodel one room right now, we're going to pay for it for you. What room would it be and what would you do?
And I will tell you that, oh, that's an easy one for me. So, and I'm going to preface this. I so As I told you, I raised, three young kids, and one of the things that I missed out a lot on, was really that opportunity time to sit and eat, and especially around dinner time. So weekends were always the time that I cherished with my kids. What COVID did was, really give me back some time in the evening where I now cook with them. I now sit and eat with them, and we have some of the greatest conversations. that I feel like in a lot of ways, there's a little bit of guilt that I missed out on. But our kitchen is the smallest. I'm realizing now, my husband did a lot of the cooking throughout the years. And for three of us, in some cases, sometimes to be in there working is not enough space. So reality wise, it would be that kitchen and finding a way to either grow it a little, but also figuring out the best layout that functions a little bit better than it is now. So so that to me is probably where I would go. And plus I'm enjoying it a little bit more. I'm enjoying it a lot more, I should say, with my kids. But you know, really actually cooking. My husband would say, "Oh my goodness, and you're a good cook." And I go, "Oh, thank you."
Well,
But
everybody gravitates to the kitchen, right? I mean,
I think
you have people over, people stand around, and it is a place of camaraderie, and
it
we
is.
have those same discussions with my two kids at our dinner table. There's some great conversations that
It
go.
is. It is. And I think what's interesting is I was raised where you really didn't sit down and eat until my father came home from work. So, you know, no matter what time you got off of school, no matter what time he got home, you waited to eat and we ate together. And I lost that along the way. And you're right, that's where the most important opportunities to listen, to laugh, to cry, to hear, to, you know, and I value that quite a bit. And now being able to do it with them and then sitting down and having all of that time, that's probably the one thing COVID, I would say was a shining light out of COVID for me personally,
Right.
was having that.
So if you're standing in front of a group of people that have never owned a home before, and you're going to extol the virtues of home ownership, what's the one thing you would say? Why is it important? What do you want to communicate to that group?
I think what I would say to a group of people in home ownership is that first and foremost, it provides a freedom and an opportunity for you to establish kind of roots and a part of family and community that only enhances your life as well as those in others. Um, I say that it gives you an opportunity to invest your money into something that down the line provides to the economy as well as to your own wealth, building an asset that down the line becomes yours, could become your you know, children's children, and you create really that opportunity to really build your assets, build your legacy, and all at the same time calling, you know, wherever you land home.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So we've talked a little bit about the growth of the Hispanic community within Johnson County and with all over Kansas City for that matter. So according to the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, Hispanics were the only demographic to increase their rate of home ownership for the last 5 consecutive years. That's the longest period of consistent growth Hispanic since 2000. So, but I still don't think we're hitting upon enough of the people and educating them enough. I think that growth could be even greater. So what kind of things can be implemented by our company to accelerate that Latino home ownership in Kansas and Missouri?
Yeah, you know, and we did hit on it before. Really, just the fact that what we need to understand is that it is a young, I mean, we're talking about the millennials and younger, right? That I think our average age is about 30. I say I say us in that stage. I should say my kids and my grandkids. I love thinking about our population being young, but I in, can't put myself in there at this point, but love it. I think what's really important for your company and for companies to really kind of think about is what we what we value about the work that we do is the information and education in a culturally and linguistic way. Um, and the value of trust and importance that our community plays um, in language can't be understated. And I say that because often our community is put in a place to where if they're forced to with a question of English, well, do you know English? Sometimes it's comfortable for them just to go through and they're not understanding. But because we are so negative about second languages, and then we don't value some of the culture. And so another thing I would do is, besides the fact that you have information and education in a culturally and linguistic way, that you also have support by people that look like us, that people, so yeah, it's great to have someone that speaks Spanish, but also understands the culture around multi-generational. So in a lot of ways, what we know about our community is that there's multi-generations living in the home and often contribute to the home. But when we think about a mortgage, it's only the two that are on the deed, right? The two that are signing the mortgage. And so we devalue kind of the understanding that we can support a home for multi-generational families, but then we destroy it because they're only counting certain credit or not allowing the income from multi-generational. I think that, so understanding the culture, providing any resource available for down payment is always important, I think, for the population that we serve. And also more banks, kind of helping to advocate for more banks that use the I-10s as an opportunity to utilize for mortgages, because I think one of the things that's really important is that you can tell from statistics that the default rate for our community, in particular, that with the I-10s, are so low.
Right.
Why not take a chance on a growing population who is huge in our economy, in our job market, in our jobs and economy, that that's one thing that could be of value.
Right.
So I think overall, we still are not, I think as people of color in particular, still, kind of questioning whether the affordable loans are there for us as well. So I think all of those things could be of value in your toolbox or resources for our community. But also, I already know you have a great program with Fabian, and we've worked before with your company, but I think others need to understand the value and the importance it creates, not just for the Latino community, but for the community in general.
Right. I mean, as lifelong Kansas Cityans, what I continue to tell people is, I love this community. I stay here because it's my home, but also because my roots are here, and it is such a great place to live and raise family. And we need to make sure everybody has the opportunity to buy a home and grow with Kansas City, and that's everybody of color. And no matter what their situation is, and it all starts with education, right? We've got to get out there in the community when we continue to do that, and Fabian's leading that charge. And we've got to get more banks. We've got to get over the undocumented situations and figure that out. We've got a 501(c) that we've set up now at our parent company for down payment assistance that will start rolling out here in the next few months. So
Nice.
that thing's going to happen, but it'll be a slow process, but we must do it. It's not a day thing or a week thing or a year thing. It's forever. And
Right.
Our vision is, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, more and more people of color are buying homes, and we see growth in Kansas City on all sides. So
Yeah.
we'll get there. Okay, final question for you. 3 adjectives to describe Irene. How will people remember you?
I'm going to say kind, honest, and giving.
Love it.
That's how I would want to be remembered. And hopefully that's what people describe when I'm long gone.
Well, good. Well, thank you very much. First of all, for all you're doing at El Centro.
Oh, thank you.
It's very impactful, and I look forward to our continued conversations about how we can, work together to help the community and give home ownership to everybody that needs it and wants it. So good luck for the rest of 2021, and thanks for joining us in the chat room.
You too, and I appreciate the conversation, and we appreciate the partnership, and we thank you for everything that you do, not just for our organization, but for those we serve and this community. So keep up the great work, and we appreciate, and we definitely will continue the partnership.
Great. See you soon, Irene. Bye now.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.